Madrid and the second International Consortium of Personalized Medicine workshop. I would like to say welcome to all of you here, and then I, of course, sorry. Of course, I would like to thank you all for being here. This is a very important event for the International Consortium of Personalized Medicine. I'd like to thank all of you who have registered. I'd like to thank all of the experts and consultants that have accepted to be here now for 2 days. I would like to especially also welcome to some of the representatives from the Commission and from our Spanish colleagues. So it's Carmen Laplaza Santos from the European Commission, Raquel Yotti Alvarez, who is General Director, Institute of Health, Carlos III, and Rafael Rodrigo, Spanish Secretary General for Scientific Policy Coordination. And we four will start and with this. And
did I press something here? How do I go back? Thank you. How do I operate this here? Sorry. Is this a very fancy thing, or is it just? Oh, there is a mouse. Sorry for this. How do I go forward and back and so on? Oh, with that one, okay. Yep, perfect, thank you. Okay, so sorry. So, welcome again. The second workshop of International Consortium Personalized Medicine, called Personalized Medicine for All Citizens and Patients Within Sustainable Implementation. So my name is Jan-Ingvar Jönsson. I'm a professor at Linköping University in Sweden. I actually work in the area of personalized medicine. But I'm not here because of that. I'm here because I'm sharing ICPerMed. I'm also Secretary General at the Swedish Research Council, which means that I have the large Swedish portfolio of national support in the life science area. So I'm going to present the International Consortium of Personalized Medicine for you for just 7-8 minutes, because not all of you are familiar with this. So this started in 2016, 2017. We are now more than 40 European and international partners. As you see, there is really a strong focus to the European Union and Europe, but we're very happy to have other countries on board, like Israel, Brazil, Canada, Turkey. So we are global, and as you know, disease is a global phenomenon. So when it comes to personalized medicine, it's important not only to work within the European Union, but international. So we represent ministries, funding agencies. These are both national ones and also charity organizations. And we have the European Commission on board, which is very, very good. This is one of our main partners. And as a matter of fact, I mean, the European Commission started this, initiated it. So ICPerMed started about 3 years ago. And in parallel, there is a secretariat from the DLR in Germany, who is funded as a CSA from the European Commission until November 2020. What will happen then, we don't know. We are very optimistic that personalized medicine will be one of the major initiatives within the new partnership program within the European Commission, but we have to wait and see. The main purpose of our consortia is to coordinate and foster research to develop and implement and evaluate personalized medicine approaches. So we have a vision statement that is sort of guiding our activities and what we all do. So first of all, of course, if you become a member of ICPerMed, you see yourself as a global leader in personalized medicine research. We say that one of the keys to success of personalized medicine is to support science, but through coordinated approach to research. One of the main goals with our activities is really outreach to patients, citizens, and healthcare system, and that is, of course, one of the important tasks for this workshop. And hopefully that this consortia will lead to new ways to reach out to citizens and patients in treatments and health and so on. We do emphasize that research is a driver of personalized medicine and evidence-based health. International Consortium of Personalized Medicine is rather huge family nowadays. This is what we normally say is like the umbrella. Is there a pointer here? Yeah. So if we are here, there are a lot of initiatives under the umbrella, but are free, but we do interact with a lot. So there is all these CSAs, coordinated support actions, which are working in different areas that are relating a lot to personalized medicine and to our activities. So we have, for instance, here working on regional aspects of personalized medicine, how regions can emphasize and implement research into health practice. We have collaboration ongoing and in the future with, for instance, China, hopefully for Africa. But the green areas here are funding instruments. So the ICPerMed works a lot with the ICPerMed, which is a funding scheme for personalized medicine for the participating countries, which I know that Spain is actively in, Germany and so on. We have a lot in common with the EGP for rare diseases, and we are also not an active partner, but we do support the initiative of 1 million genome, which is of course a fantastic instrument in future for use in the area of personalized medicine. I'm going to come back to this slide a bit, but this shows basically the build-up and how we work and the scheme. So if we are the members up here, we have action item groups that are focusing on certain areas that we are emphasizing right now. And they are basically building on an action plan that I will come back to. We say that we have said that we need to have events to visualize personalized medicine, to have an outreach to the scientific community, to researchers. So, for instance, what we have done is that we had a workshop in Milan in June 2017, which was the first workshop on innovative concepts on data generation and use for personalized medicine research. That ended up in a report like this. And if you're interested in all the ICPerMed activities, all the reports and vision papers and so on are free to download on our homepage, so please have a visit. But this is a very good instrument because the workshop is really when the ICPerMed sit down together with experts, consultants, and to sort of identify the area of focus for the future, long-term and short-term. And that is really the hope that ICPerMed has with this workshop here today and tomorrow as well. We have had one very large conference that I have to say was a great success, at least what I've heard from most participants and from those that were not there. And that conference had a major focus on best practice, which sounds in a way ridiculous, that do we really need to have these awards for best practice and exemplify good examples in the healthcare sector, etc. Yes, I say yes, absolutely. It's crucial to show who are out there successful in implementing research evidence into practical healthcare and treatment. It is crucial. It is actually crucial even at the regional level. So we emphasize this a lot. We also have a website, and I'm not going through the website, of course, but I'm just going to show you two things, which is quite useful. So we have mapped the activity of all the member states. So if you are a member, you are part of this mapping. Of course, you need to provide the evidence, but basically this shows all the different ongoing funding programs in all the countries and in personalized medicine. And it's open for anyone to register and have a look. We also have a partnering tool, which is an important platform for research organizations to find potential collaboration with others in the area of personalized medicine. So these are also free to use. Finally, I would like to stress that, of course, if we work as a consortia, we need, of course, to focus on certain areas of interest. There is a lot of things to do in this area, as you realize, but we need to focus down. So what guides us in this is the action plan. The action plan was published 2 years ago and basically focusing on 30 action items, of which 22 is more to research and 8 is more into infrastructures, like research infrastructures, methods, processes, and actually also people. training. I mean, one of the big challenges with personalized medicine is training and capacity building. How are we going to deal with the next generation healthcare providers in implementing personalized medicine? We need to start already at medical school, nursing school, of course. So the action plan is really the one that guides us in our efforts, and it provides the tool to coordinate all the activities. And finally, just 1 month ago, 2 months ago, we published the vision paper. And the vision paper you have in your bag. And if you didn't get your bag, go out and then have a look. And the vision paper is really important today and tomorrow. The vision paper is there to show what we hope Europe to be in 2030 when it comes to personalized medicine. That's what we hope have been implemented. And of course, the focus here is not the researcher and the research community, it's really the patients. It's really the citizens. So you should have a look in this, and it's also available at the website. And you will get a presentation on this later on today from Astrid Vicente, who is vice-chairing ICPerMed. I would like to emphasize that this vision paper was also put together with a lot of experts and consultants, real experts in their areas, and that's why we think this is a very solid document. So. Finally, the workshop today, I would like to say, and we're going to through it later, is of course focusing on the 4 major topics and 4 working groups. This is going to lead to a report, which is an ICPerMed document, which is really, we're asking all the experts here in the audience to participate actively in basically giving sort of recommendations for the ICPerMed for future focus areas and priorities. So, with that said, if you want, you can have a look at the homepage. You can mail this address if you have questions. So by that, I would like to give the word to Carmen. So please.
Thank you very much, Jan-Ingvar. Good morning to everybody. It is a great pleasure for me to address, on behalf of the European Commission, this workshop. I would like to start by thanking the organizers, ICPerMed, and also the Instituto de Salud Carlos III for having organized this event that is going to discuss very timely topics that need to be tackled in order to ensure that all European citizens can reap the benefits of personalized healthcare. That has a great potential to improve the provision of healthcare, both from the perspective of the patients and also for the perspective of the healthcare providers. And for these reasons, the Commission has been, personalized medicine has been at the core of the research funded by the European Commission in the last decade. By providing the right information and treatment to the right people at the right time, it moves from a disease-reactive approach to a more proactive approach, focused on prevention and on better health outcomes. To some extent, personalized medicine is already implemented. It has demonstrated huge benefits in the treatment of cancer, and now we see little by little that it's going to move forward to other to replicate these successes in other contexts. And also we see that it is implemented little by little in different regions and member states that are putting forward strategies to foster the use of personalized medicine in healthcare, in the healthcare mainstream practice. For us, a proof of this is the fact that more than a third of European regions have indicated personalized medicine as their priority, one of their priorities for regional development in the context of the smart specialization strategies. But here in Madrid, I would like to praise what many Spanish regions, it's not nice that the Spanish comes here to say that, but it is so true that I would like to praise all the efforts and advances that many Spanish regions have done. They are at the forefront of bringing innovation to the healthcare systems and are being looked by many as an example to follow. Personalized medicine is still perceived by many as the medicine of the rich. And actually, it is less often said that it can bring huge savings to the healthcare budgets. just if we look at how many ineffective treatments are prescribed, if we could avoid the prescription of those, we could save quite a lot of money. Also, by avoiding, for example, or reducing the adverse reactions that today account for an average of 5% of hospital admissions. So I think these are also important things that need to be more to the public arena in order to avoid this long-time vision of the medicine of the rich. If we look, for example, at the pharmacogenomics, already in place in some places, but that should be upscaled and used in much more healthcare context, because it could really provide an important answer to all these questions about waste and about adverse reactions. And it is an area mature enough. Also, huge opportunities, we believe, lies in the area of the prevention of diseases. It's true that public health campaigns that promote healthy lifestyles and wide population vaccination programs have shown their effectiveness, but preventive measures based on personalized profiling are still at their infancy. And we believe that many opportunities lie there. The problem is that, of course, maybe the budget necessary for that is not today available in the healthcare budgets, and therefore it's very difficult we believe there is an important effort to be done in order to convince authorities about the importance of preventive strategies that should not be looked just as spending that is going to burden in the budgets, but more as an investment that will pay back in the future. We are convinced that in the context of the sustainability of the healthcare systems in the future, prevention is one of the keys. Also, during the recent Research and Innovation Days that we organized in Brussels some weeks ago to get stakeholder input in the context of the preparation of the next Research and Innovation European program, Horizon Europe, prevention was really signaled by many as one of the priorities that should be looked at by Horizon Europe. So many promises from the personalized medicine, and as I said, many things which are already demonstrating successes. But still there are many different issues that need to be tackled in order to make all these good promises a reality, and a reality for all, and not only for some of the lucky ones. One of the priority for us is the data. The data, it's a key component of the personalized medicine concept. How can we best utilize the information that from the tsunami of data that is coming towards us? Indeed, we have to find the right balance. The computer technologies, artificial intelligence will be very important, and also we need to take into account the right concerns about data protection. So we really welcome the strategies around the use of health data that are being put forward by different member states, and also from the perspective of the Commission, this will be a priority in the future. And the proof is that the creation of a European health data space is part of the mission of the new Commissioner for Health, Ms. Kyriakides. Cross-border collaboration, for us, from the European Union perspective, we need to take advantage of the fact that we are a union and share the lessons learned by others, try to replicate the good successes. This is very important because, as I said, many successful initiatives are already deployed, and they should be upscaled for the benefit of all the European citizens, or at least much more. Also, interdisciplinary collaboration, fundamental as well, as the involvement of all the stakeholders, the patients and citizens for sure, but also the healthcare providers. As Jan-Ingvar said, we cannot forget them, neither in terms of awareness building, but also in terms of training. It would be good that we come up with harmonized strategies to update the curriculum of the future healthcare workers, so that they can do the best possible use of the new technologies and approaches. So as I said, personalized medicine has been at the core of our research efforts in the last decade. Across the whole research and innovation chain, from the basic understanding of disease to the demonstration of the value of the patient stratification in the healthcare practice. And just to give you an idea of how true this is about the whole research and innovation chain, we are currently preparing three pilots on three grants of pilots for personalized medicine, quite important projects of around 20 million euros to demonstrate the piloting of personalized medicine in, I think they are mainly in cardiology or diabetes. It was important for us to go further, the cancer and rare diseases in this topic. And then we are also preparing the grants of 2 pre-commercial procurement on the context of personalized medicine, which is the first time we are doing that. So we are really moving towards implementation. We will continue to fund personalized medicine in the next framework program. Personalized medicine is going to be a cross-cutting priority across the cluster health. We will also work together with member states to set up a partnership on personalized medicine that could start from 2023. Of course, ICPerMed and ICPerMed will be important contributors to the setup of this partnership. So as the 1 million genome initiative that it is expected to deliver by 2022 access to at least 1 million of sequenced genome in the European Union, and has been signed already by 20 member states plus Norway. Also important to note in the context of personalized medicine is that the health cluster of Horizon Europe will attach a lot of importance, more than in the past, to the healthcare systems, mainly as concerns the strategic research agenda of the transformation. So we will look at how to bring innovation to the healthcare systems while keeping them sustainable. And last, another very important focus of Horizon Europe, and this is not only for the health cluster, this is now the main mantra of my hierarchy, is to ensure that we increase the impact of the research and innovation funding. So we should move from funding research to investing into the impact of research and innovation actions. So I can say that we will increase our efforts to make sure that research results are translated into efficient medical practice. To do so, in the spirit of the new European Union long-term budget, Horizon Europe will look for more synergies with other EU funding programs to encourage the faster uptake at national, at regional level of the research results. Most of the elements I have mentioned are part of the ICPerMed vision paper for 2030 that was mentioned earlier by Jan-Ingvar, and most of these topics will be taken forward in the different groups that we'll be discussing during this workshop. So I'm really looking forward, very exciting discussions, and I wish you, on behalf of the Commission, a very fruitful event. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. So next speaker, and it's a privilege to introduce Raquel Yotti Alvarez, please.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Spanish National Institute of Health, Carlos III, that we call ISCIII. Welcome to our house, that now is also, I wish, your house. On the occasion is this relevant occasion of the second ICPerMed workshop that we are very happy and very proud to host. The mission of our institution is to promote health research. We are actually a funding agency, but also to provide health services oriented to the national health system. And according to this mission, we depend on the Ministry of Science, Innovation and University, here represented on the person of our Secretary General, but we also maintain a dependency, a functional dependency on the Ministry of Health. And I think this is very important because we believe that this shared space between science and health is an optimal strategic position to promote the implementation of personalized medicines for all the citizens. As you know, our institution is committed to foster personalized medicine. We believe that this is an extraordinary opportunity to share strategic challenges and also potential solutions. During this workshop, you are going to work on important challenges, including public engagement and participation, ethical, legal, and social implications, transference to the market, or the effective collaboration between all healthcare players. But above all these challenges, and it is underlined on the title of this event and has been also stressed in the previous presentations, you are going to talk about sustainability, about equity. And these elements are key elements in our Spanish universal coverage healthcare system. Challenges that all of us are facing. We need to face them together because undoubtedly these challenges will benefit from an integrated and collaborative approach. Finally, I'd like to thank you all for attending this relevant workshop. Thanks to all the speakers. And I have also to render my gratitude to all the ISCIII staff working on the logistic of this workshop and also working on the rest of the 7 satellite events that we are hosting here this week. Thanks to Gonzalo Arevalo and also to Dr. Rafael de Andres as the initiator of the event for all the work that they have devoted to this initiative. I'm sure that Rafael has been useful not only for Spain, but also for the whole European initiative. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, and I can assure you that Rafael has been extremely important for the ICPerMed and the development of the ICPerMed, so thank you. So, next speaker is Rafael Rodrigo, Secretary General for the Scientific Policy Coordination of Spain. Please.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone, again. First of all, I want to apologize to Pedro Duque, our Minister for Science, Innovation and Universities, who was foreseen to be here today. As you know, we are in the last week of the general election, and he's very, very, very busy right now. And as a matter of fact, for him, it's forbidden to be in this kind of event. Anyway, he sends you his warm welcome and support to this initiative. As a matter of fact, when Raquel was inviting me to come to this event, I was talking to my minister and say, hey, come on, you have to go there. And yeah, for sure, I will be there. Be sure about that. Unfortunately, he's not here, but I was talking yesterday with him, and he is still very, very sad because he has not been able to be here with you. Anyway, thanks to the Spanish National Institute of Health for organizing and hosting the second ICPerMed workshop and the other 7 satellite events making Madrid and Spain, let us say, the big think tank that will contribute to the design of the future personalized medicine. I have to say that Spain is a strong player in the biomedical research arena due to many factors. And this include a national health system that has become an international benchmark, an excellent education program on biomedical sciences, and outstanding research centers. Regarding our international performance in health research, we are very proud of our position and capacities in the European program Horizon 2020. Results achieved so far in the Societal Challenge 1 calls show that we are one of the leading countries on coordinating award grants where personalized medicine was integrated in several topics. We are confident that under Horizon Europe, we will consolidate and improve this position, not only on performing research, but also on its programming at European Union level. Thus, we will continue being a leading country at European level in open calls and through the new partnership in personalized medicine. While the Ministry is actively participating in the design discussion of this partnership, it's clear the need of this initiative, not only for the continuation of the family of the PerMed action, but also for the integration of the activities to be launched around the 1 million genomes initiative, so we can go towards a common joint venture in this field for a better and sustainable health service based in research. Additionally, I should make a specific reference to the importance of our Spanish National Institute of Health. This is the main public funding agency for biomedical research, as the director already said, and also it's very difficult for me to say Charles III, but anyway, Charles III Institute play a double role as one of the main agents of our national research and innovation system, but also are responsible to vertebrate the biomedical health research. In order to articulate this funding role, our main national tool of funding research for innovation, the State Research and Innovation Plans, contain a specific strategic action dedicated to biomedical research. This is a clear indication of the implication of the Spanish government that, as already said by Carmen, we also consider research as a real investment, not an spend. This strategic action is managed by the Institute and entails a specific program for, first of all, capacity building of the research community along the development of their career, attracting reciprocally basic researchers to translational research and clinicians to basic research, funding individual and collaborative research projects, strengthening national distributed research infrastructure as mirrors of the European ones, and funding thematic national network centered on main groups of diseases and citizen challenge, serving as a hub to basic and clinical research groups and through a common research agenda. Dear colleagues, personalized medicine has been always in the Spanish research agenda. Spain has shown its commitment towards personalized medicine by coordinating at European Union level the ICPerMed program, as the first joint effort of several European Union countries to launching a specific yearly call of personalized medicine research. We see it as an opportunity for our research activity, but also as a new paradigm for future health interventions. So citizens can get benefit of improved and sustainable health services for both topics. Personalized medicine has a lot to propose, not only of new therapies, but on early detection, and why not prevention too. Looking ahead, we share the same concern as the ones you are going to discuss in the working groups, such as patient engagement and finding the right and efficient manners to get such engagement and advice, ethical, legal, and social implementation of PerMed, how to reach the market and the adequate balance between public investment and fair return to society, and finally, the implementation of PerMed in the health system and how to better benefit of joint efforts and ventures toward the PerMed implementation. Additionally, there are some other PerMed-related topics for which I invited you to think on, such as artificial intelligence, or research and development strategy on artificial intelligence, point out at the use of this technology in prevention, diagnosis, new drug development, and of course promoting personalized medicine. We also wish a better, efficient, and broader use of national and European research infrastructure. We are also looking for equality on accessing to the health systems, etc. Thus, we are very interested in this workshop and the results and conclusions that will arise from these working groups. In order to conclude, once again, I want to congratulate ISCIII as organizer and local host, but also the institution they are coordinating the ICPerMed initiative and for the results achieved so far. I would like to underline again that our country is strongly committed with its evolution and looking to continue working toward personalized medicine for a better service to citizens. Many thanks, and I wish you very complete success during these 2 working days. Thank you.
Thank you so much, and let me, of course, take the opportunity on behalf of the ICPerMed to thank the ISCIII for hosting this event, and of course to Spain for being such a valuable player in European research in general, but also in personalized medicine in particular. So thank you very much. Thank you. So we are actually moving on to 2 keynote speakers.
Sorry, only one thing. Please, Claire.
So, is this microphone on? Yep. So we have 2 keynote speakers here now, which I hope will inspire us for the working for the activities in the working groups. And the first, it's my honor to introduce the first speaker, who is Dr. Lisa Maria Voipio-Pulkki, who is serving as Director General of Strategic Affairs and Chief Medical Officer of the Finnish Ministry of Social Affairs and Health. And you were previously employed as Senior Medical Advisor of the Finnish Association of Local and Regional Authorities. And you have been deeply involved in a very important key instrument, which is the Finnish government of health growth strategy. And if I understand right, you're also now chairing the steering committee of the European Observatory of Health System and Policies. So you are most welcome. Please.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, our distinguished Spanish hosts, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for the invitation to share some of the experiences from Finland on the strategic challenge of implementing personalized medicine in the health system. And I hope that I operate this correctly. Yes, here we go. So, it all starts with the Finnish constitution, which states that the public authorities, be they local, regional or national, shall guarantee for everyone adequate social health and medical services and promote the health of the population. And personalized medicine is no exception to this. Well, 3 consecutive coalition governments in Finland have actually said something about this in their government programs. The latest one, which has been in office now a few months, has made it very clear that it also wants to take forward the initiatives of the 2 previous governments. So it has nothing to do with party politics. It started actually as a joint venture of 3 ministries: the Ministry of Economic Affairs and Employment, Ministry of Social Affairs and Health, Ministry of Education and Culture, and the 2 main public funders of research and innovation in Finland, Business Finland and the Academy of Finland. And the documents were signed by, say, 4 to 6 ministers from different parties and different ministries. It started as an initiative to promote the value chain from academic research to market access. But actually, over the years, more and more, we started speaking about a model country of sustainable development and implementation of personalized healthcare. Some 3-4 years ago, this actually emerged as a common platform to many of the activities in this program, which we now called the health sector, let's put it this way, health and social care sector growth strategy. And the new government is actually rewriting the program in a way of a new pathway or steps forward for the next 3.5 or 4 years. Well, it started as a research and innovation initiative and program. So what the Finnish governments have actually done systematically is investing in the infrastructure for personalized medicine when it comes to research, innovation, education, data management, centers of excellence. And here you see some of the names of the centers of excellence that are a little bit different from each other. Some of them are based on legislation, some of them are just, consortia, but they are all supported by the government mentally, through legislation and through some seed money, which is not horrendously much, but sends an important signal out to all the stakeholders that the government is really seriously backing their efforts. But since my topic was a little bit focused on the health and social systems, because they actually are managed together in Finland, so I'm going to talk more about what about the implementation of all this that happens there in the research community, in companies, in big pharma, in small startups, universities, university hospitals, and so on. What about the whole system? Well, I'm so pleased that this is one of the very first times that I can really say that we have achieved something real world, which is the Finnish Cancer Center, FICAN, which was formally established 2 or 3 weeks ago, when all the necessary agreements had been signed. This is based on a government decree. So actually our health system, the university hospitals, regional hospitals, healthcare providers cannot run away from this. But they have welcomed it as a signal of the government that this is serious business and we need to work together on the national basis to combine high-quality research and education with prevention, diagnostics and treatment to create a nationwide cooperation and innovation environment. The patients, the citizens, prevention, rehabilitation, palliation are included in these programs. And we have all the reason to believe that this infrastructure, which is now deeply rooted in both the universities and the healthcare system, will actually safeguard equal access to high-quality cancer treatment also in the future, keeping personalized medicine in mind. Honestly, access to the cutting-edge achievements of personalized medicine in cancer care are not available to every Finnish cancer patient for the time being. But now we have at least a platform where we can make things go forward to that direction. And all this despite the fact that Finland has one of the best cancer survival rates in the world. We think that we still can do better. Another initiative, which is not there yet, is the forthcoming Genome Center. There was a working group that actually I was chairing that put together a working group proposal for the national strategy for the use of genomic data in healthcare. But actually we thought that there is no reason to have a strategy. We need legislation for that. And we are now in that position that the proposed draft act has been in public consultation twice. It might need a third one, but we have promised to submit it to the Parliament by the end of May next year. And so we hope that the new National Genome Center, which I don't have time to describe in detail, but there are people in the audience who will remain with you for the next 2 days and can explain the details to you. We hope that this new authority would be founded by the end of 2020. It will take some time so that it is fully up and running, but at least the government in its program has explicitly promised that this thing will happen. Okay, and this is the advertisement part of my presentation, much based on the experience that we have gained from the rocky road of putting together the National Genome Center legislation. We have been working together with the originally Italian team. Since the Italian presidency, EU Council presidency, the idea of public health genomics has been in the air, and there is a policy brief that the European Observatory on Health Systems and Policies hopes to publish by the end of this year. And we, as the presidency country, have worked closely together with the drafting team, and actually by the end of this week we have promised to go through the manuscript so that we hope that this policy brief, which will be it is up to date for the next year or two, that describes the situation that we as public authorities, member states, right now have when we try to implement genomic medicine in our health systems. And I hope it will be fit for the purpose and help both the professionals and the civil servants and the politicians to understand what it is all about and what it takes to implement this in our health systems. As was already said, digitalization and access to data has changed it all. It has changed society, and medical research and health systems, social systems are not an exception. And the small picture here actually describes the main architecture of the health and social welfare data universe in Finland, but I won't go into that in taking any details into account. But the question is that, okay, we have all these registries since 1950s, and they all use personalized ID. We have all the health records in digital format available in the country. We have 100% e-prescription. We have a whole lot of other data collected or generated by authorities that can be combined with the individual ID. What can we make use of this? How can we make use of this? Then we come to talk about the secondary use of social and health data. And since last March, Finland has had a legislation and a new authority whose responsibility is to put the secondary use of social and health data into action. You know, the primary use is the use for services for a client or a patient. And here in green, you see the purposes of using the data that the new Finnish legislation explicitly states that this data under certain procedures and rules can be used for secondary purposes. For scientific research or for governance of the system and everything in between. The new authority is called Findata, and it has been established this year. It works closely together with our National Public Health Institute, or better said, the Finnish Institute for Health and Welfare, THL. It has a new director, Mrs. Johanna Seppänen, and it's now recruiting its staff, and it's putting together its ICT infrastructure and the stakeholder relations. This slide is a bit busy, but it shows you that all the Finnish official registry keepers are obliged to work together with the Findata. So if there is a legitimate request for data, then the Findata new authority can approach all these registries and ask for the relevant information. I won't go into the details. The legislation is available also in English. The key points of it is available in English. And I have to say that this has been done during the GDPR, and actually it was in the parliament for 1.5 years, waiting for the GDPR. And waiting for the evaluation by our constitutional committee whether it is compatible with the GDPR, and it passed. We had to change a little bit, but it passed. So I think that this is one of the things that is really interesting people right now, and we are more than happy to share our experiences. We are in the beginning, but at least we have the legal basis for the secondary use of health and social data in the country. And it's available for foreign actors. It's basically available for everybody if the rules and regulations are accepted. Why? Because we think that the secondary use, which is actually going to benefit personalized medicine a whole lot, is also important for our national economy. It's going to boost, we hope, for the research, the small and medium-sized enterprises, and also be available for the authorities to monitor and to follow with real-world data when we implement these new things in our health and social care system. What is the actual impact? What are the benefits? Is it worthwhile? We need data for that, and we need the opportunity for the secondary use of the primary data that's being generated out there every day. Okay, I personally do believe that personalized medicine will transform the health systems. But is it going to be a healthy dose of disruption for the benefit of all? And I think that building a sustainable personalized medicine ecosystem that delivers, fulfills its promises to the citizens, to the politicians, to the health and social care systems, it is a joint venture of us all, companies, authorities, you should also mention researchers, and healthcare providers. And from the long list that I had here originally, I picked a few. Legislation and ethical principles. Let's not just talk about them, let's write them. to give the airspace for established procedures. We need an open, innovative environment for public-private partnerships. That was not an easy thing for a publicly funded system like it is in Finland, but there has been a huge change in attitudes, and it's now generally accepted. But me, as an ex-clinical researcher and now a civil servant, I wouldn't be able to promote this in the ministry and on the political level without the help of my experts. Medical, legal, ICT. Don't try to do it alone. And this is my favorite theme. Don't be afraid of the dialogue with the health system and public health experts and opinion leaders. And that's one of the issues that the European Observatory is now trying to put forward. And I invite you to work together with institutions like the Observatory, WHO, OECD, to make your message understood. They won't listen. We won't listen. We won't understand if you just say it once. Repeat and explain and use common language. We also often mention trust. But I came to think that between whom? And then on the right-hand side, it's a picture that we have been showing for many years now. And I think one of our key roles as government officials is to maintain trust and try to do everything that we can to prevent accidents from happening. And as a ministry representative, I consider legislation as one of the key tools that we have to take seriously here. You cannot just work based on agreements or, scientific clubs. But it's also very important to talk to the scientific community. This is an example of the dialogue that we have had. And I borrowed this slide from Dr. Mark Daly, who is the director of the Finnish Institute of Molecular Medicine, which is not a state institute, but is attached to the Helsinki University and Helsinki University Hospital. So he keeps showing this slide where he shows, in the upper right-hand corner, that based on impact factors, and so they are one of the best institutes in Europe. But does it actually matter? In the long run, their existence depends on the value that they deliver. And he shows here 3 examples. The leukemia panel on the left upper hand corner. How do we help really seriously ill patients with a new technology that we have and make it available to all? In the lower right-hand corner is an example of the multi-risk score, which is made better, remarkably better, by including the genome profiling into that. And in the left-hand corner is an example of personalized medicine applied via mobile technology in Africa. I think this is a good example of the dialogue that we have to have with each other so that we can support each other in this exercise. Ladies and gentlemen, this is my last slide. I do believe that data-driven innovations can be the moonshots of the 2020s. And so continue to explore the unknown. Please do that. But at the same time, the sustainable implementation of anything that you have discovered called personalized medicine, it's just one of the many stress tests of modern health systems, not the only one. One of the most important ones, but not the only one. And you can be successful as anybody else who is trying to change the health system if you address significant health problems. They might not be that significant in the academic phase, but they have to turn out to be significant. The solutions that you provide really do add value to what we have already, and we all accept that sustainable health systems depend on the availability to all in need. Mr. Chair, thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Lisa Maria. There may be some time for questions, but anyway, thank you so much for sharing this very nice Finnish example on how to set the scene for personalized medicine, in particular how to bring together different national authorities to actually work together. Yes. And to actually address the legislative measures that you need. So, are there any questions? I could allow 2 questions.
Excellent talk, thank you. So I was going to ask about the Genome Center. For that center, are you going to track down the clinical data for the patients who registered their genomic data to that center for their lifetime, or is it going to be a snapshot of their clinical data?
Well, the question can actually go to the lady who is sitting just in front of you, Mrs. Tula. But if I got you correctly, yes, it's going to be a permanent reference database. But the question is, which data should actually be collected to that Genome Center? Because it will accept data both from research projects and from healthcare. The question is, where do you set the limit?
So to clarify, actually, will the data will have the clinical data for the moment of collection, or it will be for their lifetime?
Oh, okay, I got your point. Because we now have this act on the secondary use, there is no need to follow by the Genome Center that data. The data will be actually stored in our electronic health record Kanta system, and it's always available through the secondary use legislation. And if it's just the same register keeper, I mean the same hospital district for the time being, then they can themselves combine the data.
Thank you again. We need to rush on. Sorry,
Yes.
Lisa Maria.
Thank you very much. And I apologize that I have to leave, but my colleagues will stay here and will answer your questions.
Thank you so much. Thank you. So the next speaker is introduced by Gonzalo Arevalo.
Yes. Hello, good morning to everyone. My name is Gonzalo Arevalo. I am the Deputy General Director for International Research Programs and Institutional Relations here at the Carlos III National Health Institute, also known by ISCIII. And it's my pleasure to introduce Claire Gabriel, our next speaker, for another challenging subject, as it is the GDPR and how to work with the GDPR and on personalized medicine. A few words about Claire. I said Gabriel, no, Claire Gabriel. Okay, she works as a legal officer in the European Data Protection Supervisor. Before, she has been working for 8 years as privacy researcher at CRITS, that is the Research Center in Information Society and Law. She worked with international experts in the field of privacy and data protection, working specifically on transborder data flows issues and studying numerous third countries' data protection systems, as India, Uruguay, USA, and other countries. Claire has also participated in several EU-funded research projects and has been a scientific expert for the Council of Europe regarding the modernization of Convention 108 on protection of personal data. At EDPS, she follows health and scientific research policy matters and digital and ethics discussions. So, thank you, Claire. The floor is yours.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody. It's also my pleasure to contribute to the International Consortium for Personalised Medicine conference today. I want to thank the persons who had the crazy idea to invite the European Data Protection Supervisor to this event, because I think it's a great idea. Rafael Andres and Cristina Nieto for all the organization. Thank you very much. Voilà, and it's very nice for me as a legal officer to be with you and the scientific research community to tell you a little bit about data protection. The matter that this workshop touches upon, personalized medicine, is closely related to top priorities in the human agenda, namely the curing of disease and alleviation of pains. However, we should not underestimate the role played in this sensitive matter by other attributions of the human being. individuals' fundamental rights like privacy and data protection. The institution I work for, the European Data Protection Supervisor, is responsible for monitoring compliance by EU institutions with data protection laws and for advising the legislator on any new rules or policies which may have an impact on data protection and privacy rights. Personal data is the raw input of scientific research and is critical to ensure quality and reliability in the development of personalized medicine. In the same time, genetic data, biometric data, and health data are considered as sensitive data, whose use is able to affect the most intimate sphere of individuals, but whose use is also likely to affect us as a society, as a collective, as a collectivity. Science makes now use of massive amount of personal data and will continue to do so increasingly. This is a reason why personal data protection needs to play a role in how research organizations, being public or private, process this data. I've been invited to make a short presentation about the so-called GDPR, General Data Protection Regulation, and its impact on scientific research, as this is of high relevance for personalized medicine. I understand that most of you belong to the medical and scientific community and may not be very familiar with the GDPR. Some of you may even be a little bit angry against the GDPR because of the new procedures and obligations it imposes on you. But I'm sure that most of you have heard about it now since 2 years, since the entrance into force of the GDPR, and have to familiarize themselves with this new piece of legislation. So I would like to convey some general messages about the main goals of the GDPR when we speak about scientific research, maybe to help you to understand a little bit the rationale of the law and the spirit of the law when it comes to scientific research. So first, scientific research occupies a very privileged position in the GDPR. The GDPR adopts a rather liberal approach with respect to the processing of personal data in the specific context of scientific research. So be lucky. This is not the case for every other field where personal data are processed on massive scale. So you are actually quite lucky. And this stems from the rationale that the GDPR actually aims to encourage innovation and clearly acknowledge that research is a public good destined to increase society's stock of knowledge, which is a key priority for the EU. The GDPR provides for several derogations and exemptions to some of the core and fundamental principles of data protection. The possibility to derogate to the so-called purpose limitation principle that was touched upon earlier about secondary use of data. This means that researchers can use the data beyond the purpose or context for which they were initially collected in the first place. Data retention limits can be extended if the processing is performed for research purposes, subject to safeguards. This creates a more favorable regime for the reuse of data than in any other field. The GDPR also establishes possibility to process data without the consent of individuals, since scientific research purposes legitimize the processing of sensitive data in certain circumstances, including health data. And the EDPB, the European Data Protection Board, which gathers all the national data protection authorities and in a collective body at the union level, has issued some important opinion on how consent applies in the context of clinical trials, for instance, which can be of interest for you. There is also the possibility to derogate to some extent to the information of data subject when data are collected from third parties. And finally, the GDPR establishes a set of derogations to some of the data subject's rights, access, rectification, restriction, and right to object. So there is clearly a lighter regime for research that is justified by the importance of science for society. Having said that, this does not mean that the GDPR allows the endless retention and use by anyone for any scientific purposes of personal data without individuals having ever consented to such uses and even being aware of the processing taking place with the data relating to them. Scientific research and innovation cannot legitimize an excessively liberal interpretation of these derogations. All these exemptions and derogations are subject to a higher standard, the standard established in Article 8 of the Charter of Fundamental Rights of the EU, which relates to the right to personal data protection. And this interpretation of the GDPR must always comply with Article 8 of the Charter in order to comply with the essence of the right. This is also why this liberal approach is not without consideration and expectation. The processing of personal data for scientific research is subject to the provision of appropriate safeguards under the new Article 89 of the GDPR. Such safeguards shall notably ensure that technical and organizational measures are in place, in particular in order to ensure respect for the principle of data minimization and data security. Where relevant, these measures must include pseudonymization, and if the research project allows it, you should go beyond pseudonymization and try to achieve real anonymization in order to ensure that individuals can no longer be identified. Accountability of researchers, which is the other truly revolutionary element of the GDPR, is the other major expectation established by the regulation. And this is of very high relevance for your activity. Accountability prescribes not only compliance with the law, but also requires organizations to achieve it to the highest standards and be able to demonstrate all this. And this demonstration, I think, is key to maintain trust in medical research activities. And in most of the cases, research organizations, biobanks, health databases, infrastructures, and pharmaceutical companies are bound to perform data protection impact assessments and appoint a data protection officer. This person is crucial to accompany your activities towards compliance. And all these new procedures and obligations are concrete implementations of the emphasis on the accountability of research organizations. However, we also know that the GDPR has not achieved the desirable level of harmonization when it comes to medical research. Indeed, member states can add limitations and conditions with regard to the processing of genetic, biometric, or health data, creating a risk of fragmentation, which must somehow be addressed in order not to impair the flows of personal data within the European Union. The European Data Protection Board, which took up its duties in May 2018, is playing a decisive role on this by ensuring that sound guidance is delivered on a wide number of subjects. The guidelines on profiling and automated decision-making, the guidelines on consent, the guidelines on transparency are, for example, of direct relevance when we speak about the implementation of personalized medicine. The European Data Protection Board and the Commission is also closely looking at how member states' law have used their margin of maneuver to implement these additional restrictions or limitations that may have an impact on the desired level of harmonization. But more importantly, the GDPR offers new opportunities for standardizing data protection practices in the field of scientific research. It provides for new incentives to elaborate codes of conduct or binding corporate rules for global enterprises involved in research activities. Codes of conduct can be developed by research organizations and healthcare professionals themselves to complement the application of the GDPR in a specific context, by thus bringing an added value to the interpretation of the GDPR. Scientific research and life sciences research is one of the key areas where the adoption of codes of conduct may bring such added value with respect to consent practices, reuse of personal data, and specific appropriate safeguards to be implemented in the conduct of research. Some codes of conduct are already in preparation and quite mature, especially in the pharmaceutical sector and in the biobank sector. And the EDPB, the European Data Protection Board, expects to adopt this code and to provide opinions on this code probably in the next couple of years. These initiatives are more than welcome to engage a wide range of health professionals towards compliance with data protection law, but also to overcome, wherever possible, some divergences of approaches between member states in the implementation of data protection law. Finally, a GDPR-compliant data management and data handling is critical for the development of personalized medicine. Personalized medicine is a new area which encapsulates almost all of the most crucial challenges to the most essential principles of the right to personal data protection. In the data-driven era, the notion of health data is considerably extended beyond its traditional definition, since the tracking of individuals' behavior and habits, even the most trivial ones, may reveal information on their health status. Personalized medicine relies on profiling in view of analyzing and predicting individuals' health status. Such profiling, to be effective, requires to process massive amounts of personal and sensitive data, including genetic data, socioeconomic data, and lifestyle data, gathered from very heterogeneous sources, such as electronic health records or mobile health applications. How then to ensure compliance with the principle of data minimization, purpose limitation principle? How do we protect what some theoretical philosophers of privacy have called contextual privacy? The area where I disclose some personal information about me is usually contextual. Here we are breaking the walls between very different contexts of behavior and of individuals. Another major challenge lies in the overall objective to empower individuals to make decisions as to the availability of their personal data to healthcare professionals. This requires addressing very carefully the issues of consent and transparency. How can we ensure consent when we speak about genome sequencing diagnosis, which concerns not only the patient, but also other members of his families? How do we protect individuals' privacy in this context? Beyond data protection, the empowerment of individuals is also a very important ethical question when we speak about the transition towards personalized medicine. In the same time, we must be very careful. By empowering individuals to make decisions on the availability of their personal data to healthcare and research professionals, we may somehow invite them to become more efficient managers of their health and lifestyle habits. However, putting too much emphasis on the empowerment of individuals in this context should not lead to make people increasingly responsible for their own adverse state of health. We must keep in mind that inequality in health is not only the result of individual choices, but the result of social and economic inequalities. As a final remark, allow me to share a personal viewpoint. Personal data protection and compliance with the GDPR is not an end per se. The right to personal data protection should be seen as an instrument, as a means to ensure and protect all the rights, to protect the enjoyment of all the panel of fundamental rights and freedoms enshrined in our Charter of Fundamental Rights and National Constitution, such as non-discrimination, freedom of expression, and so on. So it's also in the broader landscape of our European values and freedoms of solidarity, rule of law, and democracy that I invite you to consider how data protection is a necessary ally and should not be considered as an obstacle to the proper development of personalized medicine, to the benefit of all individuals, as has already been mentioned several times. Thank you for your attention.
Okay, Claire, thank you very much. I guess if there is any, we have chance for 1 or 2 questions from the audience. Yes, I see there. If you can speak, I think, from here, because as it is a web stream, it's important to keep the...
Thank you. Very, very great talk. I'm Sula from University of Tartu in Estonia. I have a question about genomics data. The problem is that I have no obligations to make my genomic data available. I can sign a consent, but the problem is that my genomic data also contains a lot of data about my family, about my brothers, sisters, and mother, and all the others. What's the view of GDPR to this data?
But I don't know. This is one of the questions that I addressed at the end of my speech, because this is one of the ongoing discussion and question. This is not only about an individual choice. What I may choose even to make my genome sequencing available online, you know, is not only about me. It's also about my relatives. And here we are touching somehow the limits of how far individuals can be involved, should be involved, how much empowerment of individuals is the key, I would say, driver to govern the accessibility of data. Or should there be other ground to legitimate the use based on legislation or, you know, other what we call lawful ground from a data protection viewpoint. But however, this does not mean that some degree of transparency is not applicable to all the data subjects, individuals concerned. So indeed, this is typically the area where discussion is needed, elaboration of new ways of empowering individuals, obtaining their consent, and making research projects transparent for the society is needed.
So here, Giovanni Tonon from San Raffaele, Milan. I greatly appreciated your comment concerning how the different countries has actually taken on the GDPR. It's my impression as part of an ethical committee in my hospital that more and more there's kind of the fear at this point, the concern about the privacy, and actually somehow blocking all the activity. So the feeling of two aspects of the GDPR, on one side the freedom of research, on the other one the protection of data, is definitely tilting toward the protection of data. So the ethical committees are very much on the defensive in these days, somehow blocking a lot of initiatives instead actually of forging and fostering research. Can you elaborate a little bit how the EU is really trying to somehow bring the equilibrium back also towards research interests?
I've mentioned one example, the opinion issued by the EDPB on the interplay between the clinical trial regulation and the GDPR when it comes to consent practice. I think it was crucial because this is really a typical area where divergences of approach emerge, especially from ethical committees at national level, not only by data protection authority. But the thing is now ethical committees are now dealing more and more with data protection matters, which is understandable. But on the other side, how data protection authorities envisage data protection, because they are the regulator. Data protection supervisory authorities are the legitimate regulators when it comes to the processing of personal data. And there have been some divergent interpretations, sometimes coming from national ethical committees as to whether consent applies or not, or another lawful ground, and so on. And on this, we know that, we are aware of that, we realize this. And a first opinion has been issued on this from the board, which, I mean, applies including to national ethical committees, you know, because the EDPB is the authority empowered to deliver and to issue opinions. But there are many other areas on secondary uses, how Article 5.1b applies, how Article 89.1 apply, how far derogations to data subjects' rights can apply or not. And we are, having stakeholders event. There may be a lot of way to follow up a little bit how member states' law have used or not their margin of maneuver, because it's not the case of every member state. We also found out that not all member states have, implemented additional restrictions and limitations. Some have not, and this is also problematic because in many instances, the GDPR requires these derogations to be based on union or member state law. So in the absence of such laws, then the whole flexibility provided by the GDPR is not operational. So this is something we also realize. You must know that Article 97 of the GDPR provides for a review process after 2 years of application of the GDPR. This review process is actually going on. The Council, all member states have communicated their national positions. Quite a number of them have mentioned scientific research as a problematic area where the GDPR is not yet implementing even coherently, not even talking about consistency, full harmonization, but just with a coherent approach across member states. So this is something that the Commission, I'm not working for the Commission, so I don't want to, but the Commission, I know, is closely following up that aspect, and that's EDPB, as Data Protection Authority, we also want to look at all national laws, how they have applied, and where the obstacles come from for more coherent approach of the GDPR. So we also expect, I think in the next couple of years, some national legal adjustments, legislation adjustments, etc., to in the same time protect the integrity of the GDPR, but make it operational. Also the flexibility and the derogations. So this is something we hope. But I mentioned the codes of conduct. This is also something we are waiting for, because we also think that codes of conduct are a very important tool for the research community to also be the promoter of the standards they want to apply somehow. So it's also a means for the scientific community to make the GDPR yours, Try to take the principles, work on it, develop the own way, your own interpretation of how you want to apply this principle to concrete areas of sciences, and be, in a way, a driver in proposing such applications and implementations. Because in the same time, asking for legislation, national legislations, adjustments, you all know that somehow this may create an additional risk for more fragmentation in the same time. So, voilà, that's why I mentioned the opportunities offered by the GDPR to generate standardization as well.
Okay. This one? Can you hear me? There is, but then should be the very last question at the end of the room. Pepa, please.
It's more a comment than a question, and thank you for your presentation. My name is Michaela Mayhofer. I represent BBMRI ERIC, and together with several other research infrastructures, industry representatives, and patient organizations, I spearhead the Code of Conduct for Health Research initiative. It is one of the few that tackles it on the European level. It will be a long-standing endeavor. We will not be ready for the next couple of years, especially because we try to find out what the country derogations properly mean. But I want to point out also to this audience that in several countries there are several different Code of Conduct worked initiatives on a national level. Some tackle only biobanks, some tackle cancer centers, but also here there are initiatives to find together a common wording, and that is the first step towards standardization. That said, it is a long way road, and it should not be expected to be there the next month, maybe not the next year, but it will come eventually. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much for the last comment. Thank you very much, Claire, for your presentation. I think that you pose a very relevant issue and certainly good ideas for future work in the ICPerMed initiative. And I just suggest that the benchmarking on what the different countries has been done on each national legislation on this issue.